When Lionel Messi called Enzo Fernández a spectacular player, he didn't realize he was actually predicting a €100 million balance sheet tragedy. Because if you think Enzo is struggling just because of bad form, you are reading the wrong ledger. Enzo Fernández hasn't just hit a rough patch. He has been locked inside a brutal 8-year amortized straitjacket that makes him completely unsellable. He went from a 94% pass accuracy prodigy to a €15 million annual liability on Chelsea's treasury. He became exactly what Messi's pure footballing soul always feared. But to understand how this luxury asset was completely dismantled, we have to look at the pristine, flawless data that tempted the corporate suits to break the transfer market in the first place. Before the corporate suits completely dismantled his footballing innocence, Enzo Fernández was operating as the ultimate high-yield midfield machine. During his breathtaking international breakthrough, he wasn't just playing football, he was generating elite fiscal metrics. Across 570 minutes of maximum stakes play, the kid maintained a stellar 94% passing accuracy, completed 420 passes, and anchored the entire engine room. He was a pristine, low-risk, high-reward asset. The valuation model was flawless, which is why historical giants like Liverpool and Manchester United aggressively entered the bidding war to secure his liquid capital. But while scouts saw a generational orchestrator, private equity boards saw an accounting cheat code. When Chelsea stepped up and cleared Benfica's massive £106.8 million release clause, shattering British transfer history, they didn't just buy a midfielder. They bought a permanent ledger entry, and that ledger entry carried a hidden, toxic accounting mechanism that was engineered to trap both the player and the club in a multi-year financial prison. To the untrained eye, a transfer fee is a simple cash-out, player-in transaction, but inside modern football accounting, that €121 million fee was instantly subjected to the amortization trap. Chelsea didn't record a one-time €100 million deficit. Instead, they weaponized an unprecedented 8.5-year contract length to split that acquisition cost evenly across nearly a decade. This means Enzo represents a mandatory, non-negotiable €15 million annual hit to Chelsea's financial book value every single year until the turn of the decade. And this is where the spreadsheet turns toxic. The moment a €100 million asset suffers an on-pitch dip, his marketability completely freezes. He becomes fundamentally unsellable. No buying club in the world is going to match his remaining unamortized book value or take on his hyperinflated wage bill. The contract designed to protect him has effectively locked both player and club into an inescapable financial prison. But the physical weight of this balance sheet asset lock doesn't just stay inside the corporate treasury, it leaks directly onto the pitch, triggering a lethal psychological condition that completely paralyzes a player's natural tactical instincts. When you look at the raw data from Argentina's title run, Enzo Fernández was a beautifully tuned instrument. He wasn't a rampaging physical engine. He was a deep-lying controller who thrived because the system gave him a highly specific, protected niche. But the spreadsheet changes the human mind. The moment a club records a €121 million book value on a player, a lethal corporate mutation occurs, the price tag syndrome. Suddenly, the manager, the media, and the casual fan stop looking at what the player actually is. They look at the ledger and they demand that a 9-figure asset do everything. They expect a deep orchestrator to suddenly become a prime Patrick Vieira defensively, a Kevin De Bruyne creatively, and a Frank Lampard in the penalty box. The weight of the amortization schedule is literally projected onto the turf. When you place a hyper-niche asset under generalist expectations, his operational efficiency drops to zero. He plays with an invisible, multi-million euro anchor dragging behind him, forcing overcomplications, killing his natural instincts, and transforming his pristine 94% pass accuracy into a nervous, horizontal liability. But don't mistake this for an isolated piece of Stamford Bridge mismanagement. This isn't a unique Chelsea operational failure. In fact, this exact financial disease has quietly claimed the souls of some of the biggest names in football history, creating a toxic, systemic loop that is mathematically engineered to eat elite players alive. The modern football economy is trapped in a repeating cycle of asset depreciation. Look at the historical balance sheets. When Manchester United broke the global market to sign Harry Maguire, they didn't just buy a centre-back, they bought a permanent media lightning rod. The price tag didn't change Maguire's physical profile, but it entirely changed how his errors were monetized by the algorithm. Look at Real Madrid's catastrophic spreadsheet trauma with Eden Hazard, a generational talent whose body naturally broke down under the immense unyielding pressure of a 9-figure corporate transition. This is the structural flaw built directly into the fabric of modern sports capitalism. Boards are continually paying peak, hyper-inflated valuations for human beings, fully forgetting that you cannot run an emotional asset through a clinical corporate algorithm. The moment the market value drastically exceeds the tactical reality, the asset enters a downward valuation spiral from which it almost never recovers. Which brings us directly back to Enzo Fernández. Because Chelsea didn't just make a market mistake with a single midfielder, they staked their entire multi-billion-dollar private equity identity on this exact high-risk gamble. And the hidden clause deep inside their current financial sheet reveals a looming treasury disaster that could completely force the club into an institutional liquidation event. To understand why Chelsea's board is sweating under their custom suits, you have to realize they aren't operating like a traditional football club. Stamford Bridge is currently being run like a ruthless Silicon Valley venture capital portfolio. Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital didn't buy Chelsea out of sporting passion. They bought it to engineer a high-margin corporate exit down the line. Every single young talent they signed to an unprecedented 7, 8, or 9-year contract was an attempt to exploit an accounting loophole before governing bodies clamped down on long-term amortization. But private equity models only work if the underlying assets maintain liquid market value. When an asset like Enzo Fernández experiences a massive tactical regression, the entire venture capital framework fractures. Because of PSR and financial sustainability regulations, Chelsea cannot simply absorb a €121 million write-off. They can't just cut their losses, sell him at a massive discount, and move on. If they sell Enzo for anything less than his remaining unamortized book value, the club is forced to immediately book a massive, catastrophic capital loss on their current year's ledger. This creates an immediate, highly dangerous liquidity crunch. To balance the books and avoid severe point deductions or institutional transfer bans, the Treasury is forced into a desperate corner. They have to start aggressively cannibalizing their own ecosystem, selling off-prized, pure-profit academy graduates who cost nothing on the books, just to offset the crushing annual depreciation of their failing 9-figure superstars. The very mechanism designed to secure Chelsea's long-term dominance has instead triggered an institutional survival crisis, trapping them in a cycle where they must constantly burn their own future just to keep the lights on today. But this leaves us with one final, unavoidable question. Is there a realistic way out of this spreadsheet nightmare, or have Chelsea mathematically sealed their own corporate destruction? This is no longer a standard sporting rebuild. It is a forced corporate liquidation of Chelsea's traditional identity. By tying their entire financial stability to long-term, amortized assets that are actively depreciating on the pitch, the board has fundamentally locked the club's treasury into a high-stakes corner. Every match week that Enzo Fernández struggles to justify his massive balance sheet value, the financial risk compounds exponentially. They are running completely out of time, out of accounting loopholes, and out of leverage. When Lionel Messi gave Enzo Fernández his blessing on the global stage, he saw a generational talent with infinite sporting potential. But football in the modern era is no longer just a sport. It is a highly leveraged, cold-blooded financial game where human beings are converted into long-term amortization schedules. The final ledger verdict is clear. Enzo Fernández isn't failing because he forgot how to pass a football. He is failing because he was forced to become the structural anchor for a hyper-aggressive private equity experiment that completely miscalculated the volatility of human performance. Chelsea didn't just overpay for a midfielder, they built a multi-million euro financial trap. And right now, the doors have completely locked shut. What's your analysis? Can Enzo ever break free from the weight of his €121 million price tag? Or is his career officially trapped inside Chelsea's balance sheet? Drop your financial breakdown in the comments section below. This is NetSpend FC. Hit that subscribe button to keep your balance sheet clean, and we will see you on the next ledger audit.